Hello, YouTube. It's Lefty79 once again joining you for another jam-packed edition of the NFL Stableford League Power Ranking Show. We're going to cover 2 weeks in one show. Wow, that's going to be tough to do. I'm going to try to do it within a half hour, as that was the Art Vandelay suggestion. But I know it's going to be well over that, so don't even think that that's going to happen, especially in light of recent events that have occurred within the Pixel Golf community, uh, addressing the Las Vegas Raiders and their owner. Um, First of all, yeah, Penn Knight and I, uh, it's a very let's just say we understood each other, but in a way we aren't the same. We didn't always see eye to eye on how things should have gone and how things should be, and how you commission or run a league. I don't like running down people, honestly. I just don't think it's in my best interest, and I don't think it's the right way to conduct business when you're trying to be an authority figure. And I think that's what Penn never wanted. He never wanted to be an authority figure. He just wanted to be the coach. He wanted to be the guy that would jab you, give you some crap if you didn't play well, or he always was a competitor. That's what I loved about Penn. Unfortunately, a competitor sometimes has missteps, and when you're trying to compete and you're not having a good time and you're getting your butt handed to you every week, it just doesn't become fun anymore. And I think, you know, I don't want to speculate on why, he basically went scorched earth and tore down his own league and, took down, a lot of things with it. Uh, the Twitch streams and all the other stuff that he did. But everybody has their own reasons for doing what they do. And my reasons were when I started NFL, it was on largely on a lark and on a whim, a lot like what Penn did with GHL. NFL blew up that first year, in 2019. In the year 2020, it was 2019, because I believe it was in TGC 2, or yeah, it was TGC 2 when I started it. But just not to get into like the history too much, I wanted something different. I didn't want to just play my 4 rounds and watch my name on the leaderboards and, you know, basically just, compete against people I'll never meet in my life. I actually wanted to like reach out and try to be more available to people, and, running NFL league with actual teams affiliated with it, with the schedule that mimics the real thing, and having a format the same way, I thought would, be a nice side thing to do. It was only 1 round a week, and it blew up. And to this day, it's still running, and I can't believe it myself sometimes. And it does take time to run a league. It does take a lot of effort, and I do it all myself. I don't ask for other people's help. I don't want other people's help, because the only thing you can do to help me is just to play your game and make it easy on me by posting in the Discord or posting on the forum. I don't need anybody to help me with spreadsheets or help me with a calculator or anything like that. And that's the thing that pisses me off most, is that other people were affected by what Penn did. And it wasn't right for them, especially when they were enjoying the rounds and they had no effing clue what was going on with Penn in his own head. And I had a nice conversation with him right before he shuttered it. We called it Late Night with Penn Night, because he was like doing that no fun room, and I was just in there chit chatting away about Miller Beer, talking about the Admirals, talking about Milwaukee, talking about how he had a trip here and went on a boat and damn near fell, or did fall. Just a lot of fun shit. I mean, it was very fun talking to Penn, always in the chats. And he'd call me the Mafia and whatever, because I was affiliated with Mexico, and I don't know how that has anything to do with the Mafia. It's more like a cartel. But as it is, he's a gambler, and he gambled on the fact that this GHL wasn't going to be a hit. And I think after a while, he realized, well, I'm getting sick of golf. I'm getting sick of the groups I'm in. I'm kind of getting tired of the way things are going. And he made a clean break and decided, you know what? I'm done giving to the community. I'm done running my league. Tyler, you're going to take it over, right? Like, you're going to be the one running this GHL. I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. I got enough things on my plate. I got NFL. I'm doing MLB now. And he was like, savage, that's savage that you're running two things. And I'm like, I do it because I care about the sports that I follow. And I just want to do something different besides the regular 4 rounds in CC. I've been in CCD now for the last year. I mean, I was an elite player at one point, just like Penn was. But I slid down with the new game. The mechanics and the frame rate, and like I had to adjust to going from 30 to 60 on the PS4. And that's what happens to some players is like you just don't adjust to the new game. And I heard Tag talking about it on his stream the other day that every iteration of this game is a new swing. You got to learn. And I hope, I'm guessing if they're going to go like next gen, they're going to probably change the swing again. So, but if that's going to happen to me, I want to play something that at least I know I can compete in. And that's having a handicap system and having, something involving sports. And that's why I did what I did. And just to wrap this soliloquy up, I'm not mad at Penn Knight. I'm not mad at anybody in terms of if you want to run a league, do it. Go ahead and do it. Nothing's stopping you. Just post something and saying, hey, I want to run this league. I've seen match plays are starting up for CC. I love seeing that. I love seeing that people want to start things and get the community together on other side competitions. But as it is, don't leave people hanging and thinking something happened to you and then come back and complain and say, I did all this and you assholes, you know, didn't appreciate it and whatever. To me, that's not right. Like, just come back and say, I'm okay. Sorry it didn't work out, but no, he didn't come back hat in hand. He came back with the gun in hand and basically like blew up everything, went off on Runk, which Runk is a great guy. I played him live in a game. I never met him before in my life. And he's a great guy. I could tell just from meeting somebody online and talking to them for an hour how they are as a person. And like just it pisses me off that, it happened the way it did. No, I'm not a huge hockey fan, and the idea has swam around in my head of, oh yeah, I could easily start up an NHL season now that the season's starting up now. Get all the platinum players together that he had and say, hey, we're gonna do a Discord. I'm gonna run the Discord out of my own Discord. But no, I don't want to do that because I don't want to have Penn Knight's work colliding with mine. That's the main thing. Is he created this and he ended it. It's gonna stay with him. I don't want to start anything with GHL affiliated or have that name involved in anything that I do going forward unless he decides he wants to come back and be the Penn Knight that he used to be. But as it is, he's the Las Vegas Raiders until this weekend, which is about 2 days away. And if I don't hear anything from him, this team will now open up to new ownership. So we will transition out of the NFL after that little bit of a intro. Hope everybody's doing great. I didn't do any of these shows last week. Things just kind of got away from me. Just probably wasn't up for it. But we're going to start with the Raiders and Penn Knights under Penn Knights ownership currently. They lost in week 3 to Pittsburgh 29-22. And then they lost in week 4 at the Chargers 30-21. That's why Penn Knight and the Raiders are in this 32nd spot. Down 6 spots from the week 3 rankings I had them in. I really am probably not going to mention the ups and downs because week 3 has its own um, post already. Like I already put week 3 out there on the spreadsheet. But I will mention who went up a lot since week 3. The Buccaneers, the Commanders, the Giants, and the Browns did. The losers this week from week 3 to week 4, the Texans, the Patriots, the Bengals, and the Saints. And overall, our division leaders going into week 5 now are the Pittsburgh Steelers at 4-0, the Colts at 4-0, the Bills at 3-1, and the Chargers at 4-0. And in the NFC, the Packers and Bears are both at 2-2. Atlanta and the Saints and the Buccaneers are tied atop the NFC South. That's going to be a battle probably all season long. The NFC East sees the Cowboys and the Eagles tied atop at 3-1. And in the NFC West, you got the Seahawks all alone with a nice 2-game cushion already at 3-1. Also, the Steelers have a 2-game cushion also in the AFC North over Cincinnati and Cleveland. So back to the rankings. Penn's next matchup will be against me. Funny how that worked. Didn't want to play me, I guess. But we'll see. I'm not counting them out yet, not until the weekend. But it will be at home. It's I would love to have streamed it. I would have loved to have had it on a stream. It would have been entertaining as hell. I don't know how that would have went down, but I know I was his teammate in MLB this past week. That's ending this weekend. So I'll probably need a partner if I somehow advance in that competition as well. But yeah, it got a little personal because I was definitely a guy that believed in him and believed in what he was trying to do. And the money that he donated to the community that came out of his pocket, nobody does this stuff for the money. Nobody plays these tournaments or these competitions for money. This is for the thrill of the competition, getting to be involved in something bigger than TGC Tours or something that's just different than TGC Tours. It's not bigger because TGC Tours is the reason why we're all together. It's the reason how we all got into this game. But the side stuff and the fun stuff that you get to be in along with the tours, it was really what keeps me around. Like playing weekly events, I even quit the tours for like 3 months because I was that disgusted with how I was playing. I wasn't playing well. But these types of events, it's like you get to know people more. You get to see people and how they're playing and see how they're doing. And to me, it's just, if you start something, you should finish it. That's just my motto. And I know not everybody agrees with that. And well, obviously Penn Knight doesn't either. So, but I'm done talking about him. I'm going to move on to somebody that's probably the complete opposite in terms of, this community and what he means. And let's go to that number 31 ranking after week 4. And he's taken a little bit of a drop here lately, but it's the Arizona Cardinals of Art Vandelay. Also, I did forget the record of the Raiders. They are 1-3, and they are the same record as the Arizona Cardinals, who are also at 1-3. In week 3, the Cardinals lost to the Dallas Cowboys 26-23 at home. And then they lost in week 4 at the 49ers 28-24. So Art's having a little bit of a struggle right now. Has a matchup now, though, going into week 5 at home, or actually on the road. No, it is at home against the Cincinnati Bengals, a player and a team that he knows pretty well from the Brew Crew days. Well, currently in the Brew Crew. So we'll see if him and I Golf Bad hook it up sometime before the end of the week here. But that would be an interesting live matchup to watch, especially with how hilarious those gentlemen both are. I know, I believe the Bengals did play a live match, but it wasn't streamed. But we'll see. I mean, Art's got that capability, so we'll see if they do that in week 5. But Art is looking to get back get back into the win column. And right now, 3 teams now at 1-3 in the NFC West, and I think it's goal time. Like you got to at least get a couple wins early just to stay, somewhat competitive in the early going. And I think Art can definitely do that. And with the handicap available against iGolfBad, I think Art could get the job done here in week 5. So we'll see what happens. As I'm rooting for you, Art, but at the same time, I'm the commissioner of the league, so I can't really, you know, do much more than give you your 3 handicap points and, you know, watch your stream and, be one of the star-studded guests. It's, it still doesn't dawn on me that I'm a star of anything, but that's just, when I show up on a stream, I guess it's a big deal, but it's just I'm interested. I want to see how you guys are all doing. And another person who I like to see how he's doing, even though he's probably got the lowest winning percentage in the history of the league, it's number 30. And it's a segue that, I don't like to say, but the effort is always going to be there when you keep pounding, as Polecat and the Carolina Panthers do every week. And they come in this week at number 30 at an 0-4 record. But the reason why they're at this spot is because I'm seeing improvement. From week 3, they lost at Seattle, but they gave them a pretty darn good game. They only lost by a point, 28-27. So definitely a good scrap there. And then they lost at home to Minnesota, but this was a tougher one, 32-25 in week 4. So Polecat now heads into week 5, taking on Detroit on the road. 2 teams that are really in desperate need of a win early on. The Panthers, just what can you say? Every week gets the game in, never complains, always willing to add suggestions for the league. And you got to love Josiah and what he's meant in terms of just being a solid owner in the league since its inception. But we'll see. A win is always nice too, though, and I'm sure he would really like to get one at Detroit. As we know, at the number 29, let's find out who we have coming up here. I'm going to try to keep it as brief as I can at times, but it's the Taft Man and the Houston Texans coming in at a 1-3 record. In week 3, the Texans ended up getting a big win at Jacksonville, 33-26. And then in week 4, things didn't really go so well as they lost at home to Pittsburgh. Not really sure what. I think this drop is more about the fact that he's 1-3, but I don't think. I think they could easily be 3-1 with the way that Paul's been playing these days. He's made a hell of a lot of strides in the last 6 months since he's sharpened up his skills, so to speak, with the razor. And I just expect the Texans to bounce back from this low ranking after they play on the road at Atlanta. So the Taft Man right now, down but not out. That's the mantra right now, I think, for the Texans. As I believe the better days are coming in Houston. As we now go to number 28, and someone who's relatively new to the league, and I appreciate her posts. It's the New England Patriots of In Flames 47. Carol is 1-3. In week 3, she beat the Jets on the road. That was a big win, 28-26. And then in week 4, went the opposite direction after losing at Dallas 29-28. So that was a tough one. Again, I think that the only reason why she's as low as she is here in these rankings is because of the 1-3 record. I kind of did everything based on tiers and based on your record. And I just think that she's played very well at times, and I just think the Patriots right now are going through a little bit of a transition with Mac Jones and their offense. And we'll see if Carroll can figure it out in week 5 against the New Orleans Saints at home in Foxborough. So, but that AFC East, it's still, she's 1-3 and in fourth, but only 2 games behind the Bills. So right now, it's still early days. So we'll see if the Patriots can get it going in week 5. As we now head to number 27, well, we go to the NFC now. And the 49ers of Mike Bonacore, who checking at a 1-3 record also after, I believe they got their first win in week 4. They were down to 31st after losing to the Giants in week 3. Kind of got whooped there, 31-25 at home. And then in week 4, finally got that win at home against Arizona, 28-24. And now in week 5, the Niners will take on Dallas, their old foe from the 90s. Those were epic matchups back in those days, as those two teams were fighting atop the NFC to get to the Super Bowl pretty much every year for about 3 or 4 years there in the 90s. And then the Packers kind of showed up toward the end of that to knock Dallas off. But the Niners are back in the mix. They looked really good in week 4. And right now, they're only 2 games out in the NFC West, tied with the Rams and the Cardinals. So if Bogey puts together a good week here, he's got a little bit of a winning streak going. And with Dallas coming in, that they're going to be, the faithful are going to be hyped up by the Bay. As we now go to number 26, let's find out who we have here next. It's the Detroit Lions of CF, checking in at 1-3. In week 3, the Lions beat Atlanta in overtime, so that was a big win. And then in week 4, they went to Green Bay and lost 32-30. Tough loss there, as both teams had put up a ton of points on pretty favorable conditions. But the Lions in week 5 will now host Carolina, looking to bounce back. Still only 1 game out in the NFC North, so it's really not a huge thing to be at 1-3 right now in the NFC. I think the NFC definitely has a little bit more of a wide open feel to it, whereas the AFC, you got 3 guys at 4-0 who are really playing lights out right now. So, but as it is in the NFC, the Detroit Lions are looking to make a resurgence here, as they are doing that in real life right now. So we'll see if Motor City CF can get back in the win column in week 5. As we now go to number 25, and another 1-3 team. It's the Los Angeles Rams of up, cupping up. Kevin in week 3 lost at Cincinnati in overtime. That was a tough one, 30-24. And then in week 4, lost at Indianapolis by a point. So 2 really tough losses there. No real change for Kevin in these rankings this week. I think he went down. Yeah, I think he only went down 5 spots from the previous week. But really, I'm covering 2 weeks here, so uh, it's really kind of staying in the 20s here for the Rams. But I'm not used to the Rams being this low, and I think that it's just a testament to how tough the league is this year. And things get a little bit tougher for the Rams, as they'll be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles at home, a team that's 3-1 and tied atop their division. I think the shoe is usually on the other foot here, but the Rams have just started a little bit slow this year, and that happens. So I fully expect Kevin to bounce back and put out a good performance at home coming up this week. As we now head more into the top 25, we head to 24, and it's the Jacksonville Jaguars of Dr. Bing. They're 1-3 after a week 3 loss to the Texans. That was a tough one for them, 33-26. And then in week 4, the big bounce back against Atlanta at home, 31-22. So Binger's been putting up some points, and the Jaguars have made a little bit of a rebound this week, and they'll be next taking on the Buffalo Bills on the road. That's a big game, just for the sake of playing a division leader in the AFC, and Bing's been playing very well, like in terms of putting points up. It's just a matter of taking this act on the road now to Buffalo. And I think the Jaguars can definitely do that. As right now, they are already 3 games behind in the AFC South, as the Colts have really put it on that division so far. But I think, honestly, if the Jaguars are going to make any sort of a run, it could start this week in Buffalo. As we now go to number 23, one of our newest league members just joined not too long ago. I think I had him on the show last time, but it's the Minnesota Vikings of KOA. Andreas is 1-3. In week 3, the Vikings lost to the Chargers 30-27 at home. And then in week 4, they won at Carolina by a touchdown. So KOA is getting his feet wet as that Vikings owner, and honestly, I'm a little bit concerned because he's in my division, and I know he's really good. And he's not a 1-3 team, but he technically is. But I just have a feeling that the Vikings are going to be making a run at some point here. And once they do, look out NFC North. Because right now, they're only a game behind the division leaders. So, well, welcome again, KOA, and good luck in week 5, as long as you're not playing against me. But he's playing Kansas City, so that's gonna be a fun one, I think. As the Vikings will be at home, and they'll be taking on a Chiefs team that was a powerhouse last year in the league, but is kind of falling upon some rough times. And we'll get to them in a little bit. As we now go to number 22, who do we have? It's the Baltimore Ravens of Eddie, Be More Golf Pro, 1-3, the best 1-3 team in these power rankings. After a week 3 matchup, the Ravens lost in overtime to the Colts, 36-30. And then in week 4, another tough loss by a point at Cleveland. So really, the Ravens have been in some very close games. That's why they're ranked as high as they are. They're in every game, it seems, and it's just been some bad bounces along the way that have caused them to have this 1-3 record. And it doesn't get any easier as they'll be playing at Pittsburgh, so the division leader, and they have to take them on the road. But right now, the Ravens are 3 games back in the division, and it's getting to the point now where they got to get some of these results to go their way now. So we'll see what happens with the Ravens in week 5. As we now go to number 21, and the team I just did mention previously, it is the Swifties' favorite team. It's the Kansas City Chiefs of Kike. They're 2-2, the lowest rated 2-2 team. After week 3, losing to Chicago at home, 32-27. And then in week 4, losing at the Jets, 28-24. Right now, just seems that like that offense is kind of stuck, and they really need to shake it off. And hopefully Mahomes can find some blank spaces to throw some passes, because right now it's not so much a cruel summer, but as Man, they really have it with their team, but man, my goodness, there's some teardrops on their guitar right now as you know the Chiefs are really struggling this season in NFL Stableford. We're not used to seeing that. So as it is right now, they'll be taking on the Minnesota Vikings on the road as with a 2-2 record. It's right now 2 games below their division leader, the Chargers. So it's hard to say a must win in week 5, but it kind of feels like if the Chiefs don't get this one, they'll definitely be having to look for the wild card. As you don't want to drop too far behind in the AFC West this year, as the Chargers are just playing on another level right now. As we now go to number 20, and we move on from the Swifties to the Green Bay Packers of yours truly. They're 2-2 after a week 3 loss against New Orleans, 31-28 at home by a field goal. And then we had a live stream, but not a live stream, we played live. Detroit, we had a big win, 32-30. Pulled that one out at the end with that Hail Mary by Jordan Love. So the Packers now number 20, based on some up and down results here early on, but they're tied atop the NFC North. You really can't complain too much about that, especially with the transition to the new quarterback. And next we'll be taking on the Las Vegas Raiders on the road and looking to keep the momentum going from that win against Detroit. We'll see if Lefty can do that, or if somebody decides to take over the Raiders and turn that thing around. We'll have to find out, but it's going to stay open at least for another couple days. But as of this show, Lefty has no clue who to game plan for. So it's an unenviable position, but that just, hey, you got to be ready for everything in the NFL Stableford League, and that's okay with me. As we now move to number 19, it's a team that did beat the Packers earlier. It's the New Orleans Saints, the Platypus Brigade. Andrews 2-2 after results in week 3 of beating Green Bay on the road, 31-28, and then losing to Tampa Bay at home, 27-26. That's what's causing that logjam in the NFC South. And next, the Saints will be taking on the New England Patriots on the road. So that'll be a good one. As I know Carroll's really looking to get things going, and the Saints definitely a little bit up and down early this season with the 500 record, but we know Platypus can put together a good round on his stream at any time, and looking forward to seeing how that one goes. As we now go to number 18, a team that is also involved in that NFC South logjam. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of Zuby. 2-2 record for Randy as they have a bye week in week 5 now. So the early bye can be good and can be bad sometimes. The Buccaneers in week 3, they did have a tough loss against Philadelphia. Offense really couldn't get anything going in that one, losing 28-20. But then they really bounced back in week 4 with that win on the road at New Orleans, 27-26. So right now, Zooey doesn't have to worry about week 5 because he's got a bye week, and I think it probably comes at a good time. You can feel a little bit. It's always good to go into your bye week on a win, as you get to celebrate an extra week, and everybody just has good vibes. But a bye week after a loss, I don't know, it just doesn't really sit well. Like when you lose, you want to play right away. You really don't want to sit on that too long. So, but we'll see how Zuby does coming out of that bye week in week 6. But this week, enjoy the week off, Randy, and good luck to you in MLB as your Rays did move on. So something's brewing down in Tampa. As we now go to number 17, well, it's another NFC South team. It's the Atlanta Falcons of Pro W Dino. They're 2-2. Prouse Sean, in week 3, lost at Detroit in overtime, 31-25. Then in week 4, lost again to Jacksonville in a big way, 31-22, and that's why they're down here where they are now in 17th after a couple big wins, to start the season. So the Falcons have been falling on some hard times here on a 2-game losing streak, and they're going to look to turn things around against the Houston Texans at home at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So we'll see what happens, as those are two teams right now that are really looking to getting a win, obviously, because they're both coming off some tough losses. So, but the Falcons right now, they can't feel too bad, as they're still atop the NFC South, technically tied with the Saints and the Buccaneers. So I just think that division's going to be a dogfight the rest of the way. And we'll see what happens as we now move to number 16. We're right smack in the middle of it now here in week 5. It's the New York Jets of D. Dix Jr. They check in here at the 16 spot after results in week 3 of a loss to New England at home. And then in week 4, they bounce back and beat Kansas City at home. So the Jets, a little bit up and down on the altitude this year, but they're at 2-2, a game behind the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East, and they're tied with the Dolphins right now. So just think, with a little bit of the hectic, a lot of airtime early on in the season for the Jets. I know they were on a trip. They've done a lot of frequent flyer miles already this year, so we'll see if things settle down now for the Jets as they can get to some cruising altitude in week 5 against the Denver Broncos on the road. Well, they're going to go mile high at least this week. So we'll see what happens there, as Denver has been playing pretty well as of late. But lately, yeah, it's been a little bit of a struggle for the Jets, but I'm not used to seeing them not near the playoff picture here. So I think they'll have something for Denver in week 5. As we now head to number 15, and I know he was really happy about his ranking previously, but he's down a little bit this week. It's the Cincinnati Bengals of I Golf Bad. Well, he hasn't really been golfing bad in this league, but maybe a little bit mediocre lately, as he's at 2-2 now. The big win against the Rams in overtime in week 3, and then a loss at Tennessee, 26-25. I believe that was in a live matchup. So we'll see if the Bengals play live again at Arizona and get back in the win column, as right now they're 2 games down in the AFC South, AFC North, tied with the Browns. I just feel like that AFC you gotta win. You gotta win it when you can get it, and I just think in the AFC right now, it's such a stacked conference, and I think the Bengals are doing a great job just taking it a week at a time. And the power rankings dictate that the Bengals should probably have an easier time with this one, but art's a different animal sometimes. Like, you just don't know. The Cardinals can get going at any time, and these two have a little bit of a rivalry, and we'll see what happens in week 5. As we now move to number 14, making a big jump here, it's the Washington Commanders of the Cobra Chicken. Marcus comes in at 2-2. Some good results here in the previous weeks. In week 3, well, they had a tough loss at home to Buffalo. Well, everybody's been having issues with Buffalo, but gave them a pretty good game. And then bounced back with a huge win at Philadelphia, 30-27. So that's probably why they jumped as much as they did here, as they now are within a game in the NFC East after that big win on the road at Philadelphia. So we'll see if the Commanders can keep things going as they take on the Chicago Bears on Thursday night primetime at home. So that'll be a good one, a good barometer, I think, for the Cobra Chicken, as right now they're a game behind the co-leaders of the NFC East, the team they just beat at 3-1, and then the Dallas Cowboys also at 3-1. And then they're tied with the Giants at 2-2 of Tag Rocket, who we have not mentioned yet in this countdown or in this power ranking show. So we'll see where they ended up. As we now go to number 13, lucky 13, let's find out. It's the Miami Dolphins of Tom Santa Claus coming in at 2-2. Previous week results for Miami. They beat Denver, which was very impressive at home, 27-26, and then lost at Buffalo 27-25. So a little bit of up and down there. That's why they're 2-2. And next they'll be taking on the New York Football Giants at home. So that'll be a big test for Miami, as Tag Rocket's been starting to get on a roll here, and is starting to cook with gas. So we'll see what happens for Miami. As of right now, they're only a game behind in the AFC East, so they've been very competitive early on. Right now, they're tied with the Jets at 2-2, and looking up at the Bills, who they just lost to at 3-1. But definitely, I see Santa Claus being in the mix with those Dolphins going forward in the AFC. As we now move to number 12, and it is the Chicago Bears of Runkabus at 2-2. Let's see the previous weeks here for Runk. The big win at Kansas City, 32-27, impressive. Definitely playing above his handicap there, and then losing to Denver at home, 31-30 in a nail biter. That was a tough loss to put up 30 points and to lose by 1, and that's why Runk is where he is right now in these rankings, as he's tied atop the NFC North at 2-2 with the Packers. Packers technically have the tiebreaker due to head-to-head, but it's still early yet, as they'll now go on the road to take on the Commanders on Thursday night. So we'll see if Runkabus can keep putting the points on the board and see if that translates to a win in the nation's capital. As we now go to number 11, we're right outside the top 10 here. And let's find out who we got. It's the Cleveland Browns of Insane Eric. 2-2, not the highest rated 2-2 team though. As right now they'll be heading into their bye week. And we'll see what the previous results were for Cleveland. They lost to Tennessee at home, 26-24, and then they won against Baltimore 30-28 or 30-29 at home. So the home cooking a little bit up and down, but I think the Browns are going in on a good note into their bye with that win. They're just outside the top 10, and they're looking to keep increasing that ranking going forward. But right now in the AFC North, they're 2 games behind the Pittsburgh Steelers at 4-0 and tied with the Bengals at 2-2. Technically, the Bengals have the tiebreaker right now as they beat them head-to-head. But right now, the Browns are just looking to enjoy the week and come back refreshed in Week 6 on pin number 2. As we now head to the top 10, we're in it now. And who do we have but none other than the Philadelphia Eagles of Orange Aggie? Casey's 3-1. Took a little bit of a slide here, though. They beat Tampa Bay Week 3. The defense really shut them down, 28-20 on the road. And then in Week 4, a tough loss at home to the Washington Commanders, 30-27. So Casey looking to keep the momentum going, though, trying to bounce back, actually. And they take on the Rams on the road. So this will be interesting, as it's a cross-country trip once again for the Eagles. And we'll see if they can come back with a win. But right now, the Eagles tied atop the NFC East with Tag Rocket. And those, actually, no, not Tag Rocket. I'm so used to that. It's Turd Ferguson at 3-1 in his Dallas Cowboys, tied with Philadelphia. And we haven't even mentioned Tag Rocket yet. we'll get to the toggle one soon. As we now go to number 9, we go from one bird team to another. It's the Seattle Seahawks of Weirzy. Chris is 3-1, and he's going into a bye week as well. So week 3, the Seahawks beat the Carolina Panthers at home 29-27. And then in week 4, they lost at the New York Giants, and this is when we start mentioning Tag Rocket. 32-24. Wow. The trundling was going in that one for Tag Rocket. Definitely was finding his way around Starlight Lake in that one in East Rutherford. So going into the bye on a tough loss, not really ideal for the Seahawks, but you hope that doesn't continue for them, as they are comfortably ahead in the NFC West right now by 2 games. So you know what, you're allowed a few missteps in this league, honestly, but going into the bye, not the worst thing. You get a chance to lick some wounds, get healthy, and get ready for week 6 if you are a Seattle Seahawks fan. As we now move to number 8, and the team that just put it on the Seahawks and gets a nice bump in these rankings because of it, it's the New York Football Giants of Tag Rocket, who are at 2-2, the highest rated 2-2 team in these rankings. And Tag Rocket's been on a roll here, winning at San Francisco by a big 6 points, and then winning at home against Seattle by 8 points. So I think the Giants are on a mission now, and they're 2-2, and they'll be taking on Miami on the road. So we'll see if the points can keep coming in bunches down in Miami. It should be way nicer weather for scoring. So we'll see what happens, as the Giants still not at the top of the NFC East, but they're knocking on the door. As we now go to number 7, let's find out who lucky number 7 is. It's the Tennessee Titans of Sky Blue Ben, who are at 3-1. In week 3, they beat Cleveland on the road impressively, 28-24. And then in week 4, they beat another AFC North opponent, as they beat the Cincinnati Bengals at home by a point, 26-25. So Ben just taking care of business, staying within striking distance in the AFC South, 1 game behind the Colts, and in the 7th spot in these rankings. And now, in one of our featured matchups of the week, it's going to be the Titans taking on the Indianapolis Colts in Indy. That's going to be a tough one, and that will be deciding the leader in the AFC South. And that'll be a good one. So we'll see if King Henry can sit on his throne after that one, as I'm really interested to see how that one shakes out. As we now head to number 6, and this is the highest ranking for this league member, it's the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys of Turd Ferguson at 3-1? In week 3, Dallas won at Arizona, 26-23, and then in week 4, they won against the New England Patriots at home, 28-26. So Turd's just taking care of the opponents on his schedule and getting the job done, just flushing away those wins, as now they'll be taking on the San Francisco 49ers on the road. So difficulty, the last 2 weeks, I'm not going to say they were easier, but I'm going to say, the 49ers have been playing pretty good lately. So we'll see what happens, as the Cowboys are looking to stay atop the NFC East, as right now they're locked in with the Eagles in that position. But yeah, good work for Turd. Uh, Definitely making an impression right away here in these rankings. As we now move to the top 5, and we start that with a mainstay who's been in this league for a long time. It's the Denver Broncos of Why So Serious, 21. Austin's 3-1. In week 3, they lost at Miami 27-26. And then in week 4, got that big win at Chicago 31-30. So we'll see if the Broncos can keep that momentum going against the New York Jets at home in a very highly anticipated matchup of the former coaching staff with the current one. As that one's definitely getting some press this week in real life. But we'll see if the Broncos can stay at least a game behind their division leaders in the AFC West, the Chargers at 4-0. But the Jets are gonna bring all they have, because right now they're locked in a battle as well in that AFC East. But interesting to see how that one goes down in Mile High. As we now move to number 4, we move right next to the right next door for the Buffalo Bills. Lofty Ando at 3-1. Bills Mafia in week 3 got a big win at Washington, 30-26, and then in week 4 got a win against Miami in their division, a big division win there. And that's why the Bills are atop the AFC East right now at 3-1. And we'll look to keep things going in week 5 as they got a nice little streak going against the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. So technically this one's in London, but I want to say Bills Mafia is going to travel anywhere in the world to watch their team play. And as well as they're playing right now in the top 4, I think there's going to be a ton of Bills fans there. So we'll see what happens as the man from down under, Lofty Ando, is taking a nice trip up these rankings to number 4. So now we head to number 3, and let's find out who's got the bronze medal this week. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers of Pat Strife at 4-0 after big wins in week 3 against the Las Vegas Raiders on the road, 29-22, and then at Houston in a close one, 29-28. But I'm sure Pat will take it, as the Steelers will now take on their division rivals, the Baltimore Ravens, at home. The Steelers have built a nice little 2-game cushion in the AFC North, and at the end of the day, the Baltimore Ravens are at the bottom of the division at 1-3. We're not used to seeing that either. So this is a huge game for Baltimore, but I think the Steelers always get up for Baltimore, and I think this one's going to be a good game. And honestly, it's one of the featured matchups of the week here in week 5. So we'll see what happens there, as there is no love lost between either of those two teams. As we now go to number 2, and probably the highest ranking ever for this franchise, it's the Indianapolis Colts of B-Mells, who are at 4-0 after wins in week 3 against the Baltimore Ravens 36-30 in overtime, and in week 4 against the LA Rams 30-29. They haven't scored less than 30, I don't believe, all season long of the Colts. This is like the Peyton Manning era all over again. But instead, you got a new crop of Colts who are running roughshod in the AFC South. And right now, they're only up a game, though, on the Titans. So this matchup with Tennessee in week 5 is also another featured matchup of the week, and definitely going to be keeping a close eye on this one, as this one will be for supremacy in the AFC South. Great season so far for the Colts, though. I gotta give them their flowers for that. And the now number 1 ranked team in the NFL Stableford League after 4 weeks is none other than the Los Angeles Chargers of Chinatown. They keep that number 1 spot from week 3's rankings, as in previous weeks now. In week 3, they beat the Vikings on the road 30-27, and they won at home against the Vegas Raiders 30-21. So the Chargers, not much more you can say. They're the top Xbox team They're the top team, and they have a bye coming in to week 5. So that's the perfect way to go into your bye. I know he's probably not going to be too thrilled to have the bye this early, but you can't really complain too much when you're 4-0 and you're up in the AFC West in a very tough division. So that will conclude this week's NFL Stableford League Power Ranking Show. Did I rank some too high? Did I rank some too low? I don't know. I just went off of gut instincts for some of this, but also, I did do some tiers as well. And also, you see how the point totals looked as well. As if you're scoring 30 every week like the Chargers are, you're going to be tough to beat. But will the Chargers keep this number 1 spot even though they have a bye coming up? Or will somebody take that spot over? Will it be the Colts? Could it be the Steelers? Who knows? We'll have to find out because that's why they play the games here in the NFL Stableford League. I'm not going anywhere, folks. I'll be here, as I hope you are too. And I thank you once again for joining me here on YouTube, wherever you are in this planet of ours, as we now move into week 5 and getting into the thick of this NFL Stableford League season. Once again, this has been Lefty79, the commissioner of the league, wishing you a very good weekend. And I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'm looking forward to bringing it back to you again next week. Thank you again for being great league members and listeners, and I will see you again in about a week or so, maybe a little bit sooner. We'll see. Bye, everybody.